jarring how quickly life can fall apart. One moment everything feels grounded, secure, and the next, it's as if the foundation has turned to ash beneath your feet. Now here I am, 32 years old, sitting in my childhood bedroom in my parents' home in Dallas, surrounded by relics of my adolescence. Faded posters on the walls, a cluttered desk filled with forgotten trinkets. I can't help but let out a dry, bitter laugh at the irony of it all. I'm Olivia, and this is not the life I imagined for myself. I never thought I'd be back in this room, sifting through old memories while trying to untangle the decisions that brought me here. Everything started with Daniel. We first crossed paths at a housewarming party hosted by my friend Rachel. She had just settled into a cozy, picture-perfect townhouse, the kind of space I'd always dreamed of calling my own someday. The moment I stepped inside, an unwelcome sense of jealousy crept over me. It wasn't just the charming decor or the warmth of the home. It was everything Rachel had built. A successful career, a fiancé who worshipped her, a future so beautifully laid out. And then there was me. Still single, worn down from the endless churn of dating apps and hollow conversations, starting to believe no one would ever truly connect with me. That's when I noticed him, Daniel. He stood apart from the crowd, tall, dark hair, carrying himself with a quiet confidence that drew people in. But what truly struck me wasn't his presence. It was how he listened. He wasn't just waiting for his chance to talk. He was fully present, completely engaged. We spent hours lost in conversation that night, and for the first time in a long while, I felt something stir inside me. Oh, maybe, just maybe, I'd finally met someone who would actually stay. And for a while, Daniel was everything I hoped for. Gentle, thoughtful, genuinely kind. I felt safe with him in a way I never had before. Our relationship blossomed quickly, but it never felt forced. Within a year he proposed. A year later we said, "I do." It was everything I used to want. Loving, dependable, steady. But that steadiness became the very thing I started to question. Somewhere along the way, I stopped seeing the beauty in it. I stopped seeing him. I began to confuse his patience for dullness. His gentle gestures, like leaving notes in my lunch or remembering the exact way I take my coffee, felt routine rather than romantic. He wasn't the type to whisk me away on spontaneous trips or make grand declarations of love. He was the kind of man who showed up every single day without fail. And instead of valuing that, I let doubt creep in. Had I chosen comfort over passion? Settled for safety instead of spark? At first, the questions were just whispers, but eventually, they turned into a storm I couldn't ignore. It all came to a head one night at a dinner party. A small gathering with close friends, good food, good wine, and easy conversation. We were talking about relationships, debating whether love is about fate or just timing. Someone asked how we know we've chosen the right partner, and without thinking I laughed and said, "Honestly, if I had the chance to do it over, I probably wouldn't have married Daniel." The silence that followed was deafening. Laughter vanished. Conversation stalled. I felt my stomach drop as I turned toward him. Daniel sat still, his expression unreadable, one hand tightening around his wine glass. "Wow," he said quietly, his tone sharp enough to cut. "That's good." Panic took hold. I tried to walk it back, make it sound like a joke, something said in poor taste. But the damage was done. His eyes were different, no longer warm but cold and distant. He didn't yell. He didn't argue. That night, he simply went to bed without saying another word. I convinced myself we'd talk it out in the morning, that he'd forgive me like he always did. But when I woke up, his side of the bed was empty. His clothes were gone, his toothbrush missing, and sitting on the nightstand was the harshest symbol of all. His wedding band placed neatly beside a photo from our honeymoon. I stared at it, numb, trying to process the emptiness that had settled into the room. Called no answer. Texted nothing. I clung to the hope that he just needed time, that he'd come back once the sting wore off. But days turned to weeks, and then weeks became a month. That's when it finally sank in. He wasn't coming back. And what crushed me most wasn't just his absence. It was how easily he let go. While I was still reeling, paralyzed by grief and guilt, Daniel had already begun to move forward. One afternoon while walking downtown, I saw him at an outdoor cafe. He was smiling, laughing, sitting across from a woman who looked like everything I felt I wasn't. Graceful, self-assured, stunning. She radiated the kind of confidence that didn't beg for attention. And Daniel looked at her the way he used to look at me, like she was his whole world. A swell of emotions surged through me. I wanted to rush over, to demand he remember what we shared, to plead for a second chance. But I didn't because deep down I knew he was gone. And worse, I understood now that I never truly deserved him. Regret isn't loud. It's quiet and creeping. It seeps into the corners of your life until you wake up and realize you've ruined something precious. I had something extraordinary and let it slip through my fingers because I was too blinded by what I thought I was missing. Daniel didn't leave because he stopped loving me. He left because he finally accepted that I would never love him the way he deserved to be loved. Now, sitting alone in my childhood bedroom, surrounded by fragments of a life that once was, I'm suffocating under the weight of my own decisions, wondering how I let it all collapse. They say you don't realize what you have until it's gone. But that's not always true. Sometimes you do know. You just never imagine you'll actually lose it.